The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is proudly presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours right now. Turn your dog into a processed pup at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And the sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe, Stateside Urban Craft Vodka. Get yours at statesidevodka.com. Now available in 44 states. You can order right there from the website. On the show today, Sixers moving through an important, sort of tough West trip. I wrote down West Coast. It's not really West Coast. It's just sort of like West. Through some tough teams. We'll talk about the first game and talk about what success for this trip would be. Whether it's more important to get another ball handler or a backup five. Idea of acquiring Kyle Lowry, who might become available. And the most important things for the Sixers to achieve and get set before the playoffs. A very good listener question. Before we get going, a brand new Carl Landry Record Club podcast came out yesterday. Talk about 3 albums: Gang of Youths, Go Farther in Lightness, Man's, Dream Hunting in the Valley of the In-Between, and Shuggy Otis's Inspiration Information. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. Me and Mutlu talking about music. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with Young Rock himself, often mistaken for Young Rock. That is Mike Levin.
Yeah, it was tough when we were coming up with the show together, just me and Rock. It was like, how about some of the show is your life and some of it's mine? And so it was like, we're at a time when we talked about it, like, all right, so we'll see Hawaii, we'll see, you going to University of Miami playing football. What about me being on the bowling team in 10th grade? Mm-hmm. What about that for a season? How about that?
And how did that
didn't end up
discussion
going
go?
with it, but there's hopefully season 2 would be nice.
And
Young Rock, how about it? This coming Tuesday
There you go.
on NBC at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Watch it DVR it. Get it on NBC.com or Peacock or whatever afterwards. It's a good show. If you listen to this podcast, you will like the show. It is a very interesting, different kind of network comedy. I was excited to be on it.
Now, some people have asked, the previous shows you've worked on, there have always been specific Mike episodes that now, obviously, we want people to watch all the shows, but there have been some specific Mike episodes we've really loaded up the cavalry for. Is there an episode this season that may be specific to the interests of the people that listen to this podcast, aside from all of them?
Well, there's some Philadelphia stuff in there.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned.
There's some Philadelphia stuff. There's some Bethlehem stuff. My episode is one of the Miami episodes. I think it will air 4th, I believe, but they might have switched it around since the Writers' Room was in. But yeah, I worked on. It went straight to series, so I worked on all the episodes. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's exciting. It'll be cool. And there's a lot of wrestling in there. There's a lot of football in there. There's some Hawaii. It's cool. It's a cool show.
Did you grow up as a wrestling guy? I did.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I did. And so it was cool. I mean, look, how could you not be? I was born in '89, so late '90s wrestling. The Rock was the ticket, and it was pretty dope to be on a show with him and stuff. And didn't end up meeting him because of the pandemic, but was on Zoom calls with him and got some audio files of notes from him, which is fun. him like
seems like
flipping through a page. It was very good ASMR, him flipping through a page and like thinking about notes in his like presumably cavernous mansion. Him just like you can hear the page turn. It was very, very satisfying.
My brother, who works for Disney, I think had to work with him a couple of times and always said that he seems like a good dude. Like there's not really anybody that says a bad word about The Rock. Maybe because they fear him, given his size. But he seems like a good guy.
Sure, I could talk shit about him, and I don't think that he would know where to find to physically hurt me. But I think he's been great. He's been awesome.
We haven't done an Apple Podcast 5-star review in a while. I like this one. It is Mike related. We're at 2,848, which is getting frightening close to 3,000 5-star ratings. Leave your review. When we get to 3,000, I read all of them on a podcast from 2,000 to 3,000. 5 stars. Subject line: Mike is insane. Spike, you're great, but Mike is the reason I stay. I'm a grown man with zero emotional stability, and I allow this team to genuinely affect my life. Mike can spew hatred for 6 months about very real issues with the Sixers, and then a win over the Clippers at home has him claiming the team has the, quote, highest ceiling in the league, and that Furkan Korkmaz had an amazing game that opened up the floor for an entire team with 0 points, 0 assists, and 1 rebound in 23 minutes.
Didn't he?
It's that kind of lunacy I relate to.
I take nothing back.
Yeah, I thought that was apt. Hey, look, man, not too much to say about the Kings game specifically, aside from yet another game on the list of games that the team we've come to watch them lose, like held together with string and duct tape in the first half by Seth Curry and Furkan Korkmaz just long enough for the defense and Embiid to come around, toward the end of the third and the fourth quarter. Well, no, really just the fourth quarter to just sort of like tighten the screws on a team they really hadn't defended all game. And win the game. It's just like, and Sacramento's not going to win the championship by any means, but they had won 4 in a row, 7 of 8. Like they were playing well. They're at home. It's just a good, solid, gross win.
Yeah, they're a good team, Sacramento, and they've been hot, like you said. And offensively, they're one of the best teams in the league. And when they get going, they're fast. They fire threes off quick. Their first 6 guys are pretty good. They don't go much deeper than that, although it's good to see process Sixer and fuckboy Sixer Glenn Robinson, who's been on a Sixer twice, so different eras of Sixers in. But Glenn Robinson in there being pretty thoroughly mediocre. Knowing his role,
at least he knows his role.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's right. And Embiid got him a couple times. Yeah, it was a good game in that they got hot early. They let him come back into it, and then allowing only 40 points in the second half is really impressive. And I think part of that goes to Matisse being on De'Aaron Fox. And it's weird Matisse played 22 minutes. He had 0 shot attempts. He's an odd player, but as far as like when a guy gets hot, not all the time, because sometimes like Brad Beal can still go off with him or whatever it is. But like Matisse is a guy you can just put on him and like have, say stop this person. And that's all he focuses on. And it's cool to see that. And, Embiid being as just consistently dominant, casually dominant, not even a good game for him, but still 25, 17, 6, 2, and 2. Like this is what it comes down to. And I thought Embiid passed well. I was surprised to learn that 6 assists is his season high. Because he has been passing better this season. I thought a bunch of the assists were nice. There was one to find Tobias down the lane, nice little touch pass over the shoulder. I thought that was nice. A couple whip passes to the corner. Some really impressive stuff there. And I thought Tobias was quiet early, but bounced back and finished strong. Had a couple nice moments. I thought it was a very solid, very average Ben Simmons game doing his thing. It was good to see Seth get hot for sure. Shake a couple nice moments. Korkmaz, I mean, come on. How about it? The dunk, a couple hot threes. I love it. I love it when we get contributions from random guys. It's always very fun.
Random.
And some good passing from Dwight also, I want to say. I want to appreciate some Dwight passes when he makes them, when he doesn't just turn the ball over disgustingly.
Well, to back to the assist point, to Embiid's credit and to the rest of the team's credit, I don't think he's trying to make that the tough pass. I think he's making the smart pass a lot of times out of the double teams, and it's a lot. He's probably getting the hockey assists. I'm curious to see what that number is too. Yeah, I mean,
totally for sure.
Again, really, and Matisse Thybulle is, I believe, the first ever reverse Lou Williams, like the reverse sixth man, comes in and only on the wing and only plays defense.
Yeah.
Instead of defense. It's very strange. It's a strange role. I've never seen it before.
Unique guy, like a kind of a gimmicky player.
Yeah.
As far as you have to account for him, and you can't play him major minutes all the time in every situation. But I mean, he made the right pass a couple times. He's not. I think he's getting more comfortable in how little he does offensively. But he's not. He's not a. I find myself getting into these corners every time where I start to talk about Matisse's offense and feel somewhat optimistic about it, but knowing that it's
whatever,
still not much there.
Yeah.
I think being comfortable in, if I'm open for three, I'll take it. I will try to cut. I thought he had a nice pass that I think he threw a little dump off to Simmons that Simmons lost going up. Simmons also missed a couple layups that were tough. But I did like him dunking in transition. Always like a Simmons dunk in transition in traffic for sure. But yeah, I think Matisse is getting there. He's not where we need him to be. He's not too much more than an offense-defense player, which is helpful for sure, especially when Seth Curry's out there and occasionally Shake or whatever, or Korkmaz. But I want to see some shots go in. I want to see some stuff happen, but I don't feel like it's always going to be a zero. I guess that's my feeling. That's the hill I'll die on for Matisse. That eventually it won't be as much of a zero as it is. I see enough.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a guy that in the same series could make us feel like he won us the game and he blew us a game in the same series. A
little bit of a bummer that Tyrese Maxey is. I don't want to say out of the rotation. It's just when they go to 9, when they shorten to 9,
he's out.
He's always the first one gone, which is fine. He's got a lot to learn and he's got a ways to grow up. But I would like to give him minutes. It's a pandemic season. Tobias doesn't need to be playing 41 minutes. I would like to give some more minutes to Tyrese. I think he earned it. I think he's interesting, and I think that, the upside of him is very high, and it would be good to know where we're at with him. Even if he doesn't play much in the postseason, I think there's a chance that he could pull a TJ and win you a game with some just perimeter creation. But the other fact is, we're talking about perimeter creation. For a team that we talk about, I think correctly, is still, as far as high-level contenders go, lacking that perimeter creator, that elite perimeter creator. Usually that would result in fourth-quarter struggles. Hey, when the defense tightens up, you don't have anybody to give the ball to that can just kind of go get you a bucket. But the Sixers, as noted by everybody on Twitter and I think in the couple athletic articles, are elite in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter is when they turn it on. Their defense tightens up, and they still are scoring at a high level. And so to be able to do that is a testament to Doc. It's a testament to how well this team is playing with each other. The starting lineup still is undefeated. And there were a lot of, it's cool to see Shake, I think, turned his ankle last night, so he got booted out. But it's cool to see Doc rides the hot hands, and so for sometimes it's the full starting lineup regularly, Seth and Danny. Sometimes it's one of them. Sometimes it's Shake, Matisse, or Korkmaz. It's been Tyrese before. It's cool to see different guys get a chance to hey, if you're playing well, we'll keep riding with you, and to be that successful with that theory, I think is a testament to how Doc has been coaching this team.
Yeah, I think the defense passes the fourth quarter eye test. I'm not so sure that the offense has for me, but the numbers are the numbers. I can't. There's no disputing that, and we truly won't see until the playoffs how replicatable it is, when the other team sort of locks down in half court. But to be giving up 98 points per 100 possessions defensively in the fourth quarter is like, there's just nothing you can say about that. Like, even as bad as your offense could be, you're definitely at least going to be even with the other team, because 98 points per 100 possessions would be the worst offense in the league. So they can hang in there.
It's really impressive. There's not much else to it. I would want to know. I would want to hear from like Doc's assistants to hear like how much is Dave Yeager, how much is what's his name, Dan Burke from the Pacers, Sam Cassell. Like, what, this is an impressive operation that they got going here, and they're 18-7 in first place. It's nice. I wanted to make a point that I hadn't seen anybody else make. Because I was looking at Embiid's numbers, which I do sometimes when I get sad and I need to pick me up. For his career, this is his 5th season in the NBA. As a rookie, his fouls per 36 numbers, 5.1 fouls per 36. Second year, 3.9 fouls per 36. Third year, 3.5 fouls per 36. Fourth year, 4.2 fouls per 36. This season, he is averaging a career low 2.7 fouls per 36 minutes. That is nothing for a center. That is absolutely nothing. And to be still blocking shots and affecting, rim attacks for the other team and contesting as many shots as he has, he is doing such an incredible job of defending well without fouling. And I hadn't seen anybody talk about that before. And I think it's just unbelievable how, at his size, how graceful and athletic and precise he is. I can't say enough about it.
I did see one person mention it, actually, but besides you, Yaron Weitzman wrote a piece for 538 about the Joel Embiid conditioning indicators that are out there, and he mentioned his production in the fourth quarter, his defense in the fourth quarter, and mentioned it in terms of conditioning. And he said that, when you look at him, you might not see the conditioning, but there's a lot of numbers that support that he's in, the best condition of his career. And I think fouling, people foul when they get tired or frustrated. Yeah. So to that point.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point from Yaron. I think it's hard to, we keep talking about his minutes, and you get worried about it because we have the baggage of Joel being, playing when he shouldn't be playing, and having a meniscus, and having coming back in even if he's, after he's been hurt and stuff. But we're 25 games into the season. It looks like this is who he is now. The conditioning is holding up. He looks great. He's playing awesome. He's automatic from mid-range. He's getting the line. He shot 14 free throws last night. He's not fouling. He's anchoring the defense. Every podcast, I just do like a speechless Joel sort of rambling. But it's really nice, and I hope he's MVP, because that would be so cool. That'd be so cool. He didn't play his first 2 years. We thought he might never play.
It would be incredible. I would be lying. Awesome. I would be lying if I didn't say that I'm a little. He's the back thing and the knee thing this year really shook me. And when I watch him now, if he's just laboring like an athlete labors, I see it differently. Like, my eyes see it as, oh no, instead of, NBA players are tired all the time. But I feel like I won't be there to believe that it's not his conditioning, but the idea of him getting hurt. I feel like I won't be there until the season's over. Like, I won't believe it till I see it the whole year.
We're going to be more sort of skittish about him than he is about himself.
Yeah, for
forever,
sure.
I think.
So the rest of the road trip, 3 more games before they come home and play Houston. They have the Blazers, the Suns, the Jazz. If you had told me at the beginning of the trip they'd have gone 2-2, I'd have taken it. Mm-hmm. At this point, getting the first one, now I'm greedy, and I don't want them to lose 2 or 3. I think you could come back from the road trip at 2-2 and it's fine. But I almost think like that 3-1 is the good Sixers version of that road trip.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that they we keep seeing this surprising us as a good Sixers team, as far as like, oh, I know what a bad Sixers team or like a fuckboy Sixers team would be doing in this situation, and they seem to not be letting their foot off the gas, or they seem to, not take a, Kings are hitting everything and getting out in transition sort of punch in the face. The Sixers come back from that, and the last year's Sixers just didn't and wouldn't. So yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to be greedy at this point. I want revenge on Portland for last week's very bad loss without any of their good players, and then it becomes win one of Phoenix or Utah.
Yeah,
Utah right now the best team in the league, which is crazy. But Embiid, I think, takes special joy in beating Gobert, and I think that Simmons takes joy in Donovan Mitchell, so that'll be a fun game. So I think beat the Blazers, lose to the Suns, beat the Jazz, come home.
Yeah. Does anyone call Gobert patient zero? That would be a funny...
I think so.
Yeah, really.
I think people have.
So Valentine's Day is... Do you think Embiid plays all 3 games? I think he takes one off.
Yeah, maybe he misses the Phoenix game then.
Yeah. Valentine's Day coming up this weekend. Had a couple of Sixers Valentine's questions for you.
Let's hear it.
Who do you believe would be the best Valentine to have on the Sixers? Like, you're in a relationship, Valentine's Day is coming. Who's the one?
Matisse is obviously very sweet. I think Embiid is also sweet.
And Matisse looks too forgetful for me.
Maybe. Maybe, for sure. I think Seth is a pro, but I think the answer is probably Tobias. I think he's the guy who gets it. He got engaged over the summer or fall. I think you go Tobias. I really can't say enough about Tobias's Woj interview. I know you and AU didn't listen to it and won't, but it was a delightful listen. So
I'm sure he's fine, and I love his accent. I almost feel like he's faking it sometimes, that no one could sound as much like him as he does. My problem with the Woj pod is that Woj sounds like he's hosting a TV show and not a podcast.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
There's a little rigid.
Yeah.
He's a little stiff, but I think I find it charming in a weird way.
It was funny how I didn't listen to it, but the way AU was like, well, hell no, I'm not listening to any Woj podcast. Like he had a problem with Woj. I think his problem is that it was a Tobias podcast, to be honest with you. So I would go with Embiid only because it seems like he has the googly hearts in his eyes right now with his girlfriend and his kid. And I think right now he would be an excellent Valentine. That's my...
Danny Green would get you like tickets to like a really devastating museum or something. Like,
the
Danny,
Mutter Museum.
That's not what it is. It's not what the spirit of this holiday.
So is he the worst? I was going to ask who you thought the worst one would be.
Yeah, Danny maybe. Simmons I could see kind of forgetting or just like having like, either just like showing up with another dog or like having his brother get you something.
Yes. Hey, Alex, take a picture of her.
There you go.
And then who would be, I think this is an obvious answer to me. But you remember at grade school, if you brought in Valentines, you had to bring them in for everybody. So who's the player on the Sixers who gets a Valentine for everybody on the team?
I think Matisse does, and he gets roasted for it.
Oh, it's a good point. And he remembers it on the way in, buys him on the way in, I think. Doesn't take two. I had Maxey. Yeah. I thought Maxey would be
Yeah, Maxey could do it also. He's also like a very, still like got the big eyes of a rookie or sophomore type players, Matisse and Maxey.
As Joel against the Kings had a subpar game and had 25 and 17, his MVP case is building. We want to thank DraftKings Sportsbook for doing that, the MVP odds boost. I really don't like I feel like NBA writers have decided that it's LeBron's award to lose this year. It seems unfair to me. It seems like Embiid should be the betting favorite, but he's not the betting favorite. Does it seem to you that they just sort of decided at some point that it was like LeBron's year? The LeBron year doesn't seem any different than any other LeBron year to me.
I mean, a lot of season left. I think that LeBron doing it at this age and playing as many minutes as he has is obviously very impressive. It's always hard. Any MVP of any sport, it's like, well, do you give it to the best player in the league or do you give it to the player who happens to be having the best season? Like LeBron is obviously has been the best player in the league for a long time, and longevity, one of the best or second best player of all time. But like, what? It's all such a nebulous thing. So I think because of I get the like, hey, let's there may be years LeBron deserved it and didn't get it because of just like freshness, like mix it up type of thing, and now it's like, no, we should give it to him one more time. Yeah, I hear that, but I think because of how much better Joel has gotten and being the most important player on both sides of the court, I think it should be Joel at this point.
The Sixers championship odds actually got shorter. They went from plus 1,600 to plus 1,400 at DraftKings. So starting to get real. You know what else is real? UFC 257. UFC 257 was great. This weekend going to be great as well. DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the UFC. It's putting you in the center of this weekend's title fight with 100-1 odds on either fighter to land a punch during the title fight, not even to win. So you pick either main event fighter to land a punch during this weekend's UFC 258 bout. DraftKings Sportsbook gives you 100-1 odds. You bet $1, 100-1 odds just to land a punch. Look, if you know what you're talking about with MMA and UFC, it's a great thing to do. If you don't know what you're talking about, like this guy right here, also a great thing to do because I can almost guarantee you both guys are going to land one punch. If that's not for you, DraftKings Sportsbook, of course, has great odds for basketball and hockey and college. Baseball futures, I think, must be out by now, at least some of them. Safe, secure, reliable. You make your deposit, it goes in. You make a withdrawal, it comes right out. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code RTRS when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 if either main event fighter lands one punch on Saturday. Place your bet and watch the fists fly this weekend. That's code RTRS to turn $1 into $100 if either fighter lands a punch for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Before we move on, speaking of Valentine's Day, the stateside Valentine's stimulus package is, I think, still available on their website. You get 2 bottles of stateside, 1 stateside candle, handful of condoms, just a handful of condoms for $69.69. Makes me laugh every time. We love Stateside, sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter, which comes out with Zoe, which comes out on Thursday, so it comes out tomorrow. Everybody's favorite Valentine, Alonzo. So StatesideVodka.com is where you get it. 44 states you can order it from. It's gluten-free. It's, just made here in Philly. It's the best vodka you can buy. So StatesideVodka.com, and you can now order it in 44 different states from the website. You got to be 21 to order it. StatesideVodka.com, and to sign up for the newsletter, write to RickySanchez.com/newsletter. Mike, it's time for the not easy to stomach YouTube comment of the week. Comes from Brendan McEwen. Asks a question. You can leave a comment right there, right below us, and we might read it on the pod. Also subscribe. Brendan asks, if we can accept the cost of addressing one of our postseason needs, backup point guard or backup 4/small ball 5, is sending out a lottery protected first round pick, would you rather acquire George Hill or PJ Tucker? I'm pretty torn, but I'd probably lean toward Tucker because I think we need one of Shake or Maxey to develop into a competent playoff secondary playmaker if we want to stand a chance in the first place. So Tucker would cover our other need. What would you rather have?
I don't want to send out a pick for half a season rental for one of these guys. I just don't, and that's me. I think that the difference between a guy you can get for nothing on a buyout and those guys is to me just not that much.
Oh,
like
I
there were
disagree.
guys that are available at buyout time that became helpful contributors. I think of Wes Matthews. I think he was a buyout guy last year. And so I think sometimes as much as you're just like, I want to go get a guy, to me it's like, it's just not worth. A lottery protected first round pick is valuable, if not to make that pick, than to trade it in as part of a package for something bigger.
A big trade.
And
Right.
so, to me, the Darryl thing is like big stars and cheap guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, cheap guys are guys you draft and develop and possible latch on that pick to some other stuff. And that helps you get another perimeter threat. So I would say I wouldn't trade a pick for either of those guys. But I would probably say, has George Hill even played this season?
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't seen him at all.
Yeah, he's been hurt recently, but I think he's played in like 12 games, averaging like 12 points a game, 4 assists. Like all his shooting numbers are right on. I think he's, I was looking yesterday, I think he's like 85% from the line, 40% from 3. Like he looks like I haven't watched him, but he's having a George Hill season.
I'm looking at it now. I watched a decent amount of OKC. He hasn't played any of the games I've been in. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is so good, man.
Oh,
I
he
love
is.
him. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's improved his jumper so much makes him like incredibly easy to pair with any other star. They're going to get somebody in the draft that's going to be loaded. OKC's going to be good again very quickly. It's tough. I really like both guys, and I love PJ, and I love like the character and sort of just attitude that PJ would bring to this team off the bench. I think that just because of the ability to like penetrate and defend, George Hill is well, but PJ could play some backup 5. It's tough. It's a tough spot. I think it's a pretty even toss up for me. I'd be happy to get either of them if it doesn't cost a lottery pick.
I would take Hill. I love PJ Tucker. I think he's a great player, but look, he's not going to win you game after game in the playoffs, but I would feel completely comfortable with George Hill on the floor as a crunch time point option, ball handler option in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, to me the difference is I think I'm leaning Tucker. I do like both guys, but I think I'm leaning Tucker because the value of a stretch 5 who can hang without Embiid on the court and gives you options with Dwight not on there, and also improves the Mike Scott spot when he's back as a backup 4. I think that is more valuable than the upgrade from Dwight to PJ in the right matchup is a bigger upgrade to me than Shake to George Hill, I would say.
Shake struggled, man. It's sort of kind of like I'm not like concern's the wrong word. I just wish I knew what was going on. Like it's just
even his struggles have not been like bad. I think really the thing that's visibly different right now is he's not confident in his shot. Like he just hasn't been taking much of them. So I think he's just like sort of lacking in confidence right now. And he hit the one shot one three he took last night. But I would definitely love him to see like him let some more fly. Like they took 23s last night. That's not enough.
Yeah,
the fact that they won when they took 23s and Sacramento took 42. Obviously the Sixers get to the line more, so it's different. But they need to start taking more threes, and that comes from Shake being willing to let it fly.
Mike, everybody talks about Valentine's Day gifts for your loved one, for your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your husband. I want to talk to you about Valentine's Day gift for your dog. That's right.
Let's hear it.
You got to show your dog you love your dog. And you need to show your dog you love your dog by getting them a Big Barker dog bed. Look, what's sexier than Valentine's Day, a bed for your dog? It's not just sexy. It doesn't just look good. And the Big Barker dog bed, is great for your dog's joints, is very, very, like for your dog's health, for your dog's happiness, for your dog's well-being, bigbarker.com/Ricky. But it also looks really nice too. Comes in a bunch of different colors, comes in that neutral gray, that sort of dark brown, that coffee-ish, comes in a nice maroon color, the felt looking thing. It looks nice in the room. It doesn't look like one of those goofy dog beds you see in the pet store. And not only does it look nice, and not only is it last 10 years, they guarantee it, it is better for your dog's health. BigBarker.com/Ricky. BigBarker.com/Ricky. Hundreds of Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have found the difference in Big Barker dog beds. UPenn did a study, proved the difference in Big Barker dog beds, engineered by experts to support your dog's joints. Look, they get older. Their joints get creakier. You got to start early. You got to start supporting them early. I wish I had started sleeping on a better mattress earlier. Do it for your dog. If you go to BigBarker.com/Ricky, you not only get this bed, but you get 2 processed pup patches, which are amazing. Can iron them right on there. Iron both on if you want. Do whatever you want with the patches. But you only get that if you go to BigBarker.com/Ricky. As I mentioned, a 10-year warranty on the bed. It's not cheap, but quality isn't cheap. That's just how it works. But it comes with a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. Okay. If you don't like it, they will even pay for the shipping to send it back. Made here. Right here in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. Let's get. We were so backed up on the mailbag. I thought we do a midweek pod. It'd be a good one to catch up. Rights to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Remember to include 1 basketball, 1 non-basketball. I might not include both when you get read in the mailbag, but it gives me some options. So first one comes from Steve. Basketball. Another trade question. What is the most that you would give up to acquire Kyle Lowry? Seems like a great target to me. Can play on and off ball, good defender, winner, from here, huge ass, and he's 35 on an expiring deal, so the cost shouldn't be nuts. Now, the one thing I will say, because on the radio today with Giglio on WIP, we did like a trade hour, and the problem with Kyle Lowry is he makes $33 million, and like. So you have to do the Danny Green plus Mike Scott plus Poirier plus Ferguson probably plus Thybulle or something, like, to get to the 33 is tough,
30, just 30.
Oh, just 30. Okay.
But that's the Lowry rub. I think there's a way to do it. I was texting with Sixers Adam. I think there's a way to do it if you add a third team in there where you can do it for less, but it becomes pretty complicated, and I'm happy to not be the one to make that, to have to do all that work. He'd be great here; it'd be awesome. But I do think ultimately loading up all that stuff, Matisse and Danny probably, or whether it's Maxi or Shake instead of Matisse, I think just sort of opens up another problem for you. And so I think that it doesn't work money wise. I don't think.
Yeah, poor Sixers Adam. I also was texting him today. Like, all the times that I ignore all of the nerdy. Every time I say that, I don't say it to be disrespectful, but all the cap CBA stuff. And I'm texting Sixers Adam a few hours ago. I'm like, so this trade exception, can they combine that with? And you can't use the $8 million trade exception to this. I guess that's what the third team is. Well, would you would give up, like, let's say it ends up being Thybulle, Danny Green, Mike Scott, and you got to give up next year's first. Would you do that?
Probably not. Not because I don't think that that's a good trade in a vacuum, because it is. Kyle Lowry's good, but I think that just like sort of limits the other stuff you can do with this team, and sort of hampers your depth in a season where you kind of just need depth. And so I think it's tough. It makes it, who then are you starting Seth and Lowry as a backcourt? It's pretty small.
Yeah.
You're a little it's just limiting, I think. And I think I think that the Sixers right now have a really good thing going. I think that they feel good about who's there, and if you can just more, I would either go big for, like, if you can do a Bradley Beal trade. Obviously it's unlikely, but I would either save it all for a big Bradley Beal trade, or I would sort of tinker the fringes with, like, throwing out second rounders plus, Tony Bradley, Terrence Ferguson, Vincent Poirier, whatever, for, like, scrub expiring guys that teams don't really want that could just be helpful here in limited roles.
And if, forgetting money, if the deal was Curry instead of Green, you don't think anything different about it, right?
It's tough. Danny's a $15 million expiring. He's gone. Seth for 2 more years after this is a really high value.
Yeah.
And so I probably wouldn't then, even if Danny, it's arguable who's more important to this team right now. I think that those 2 extra years at a really, really fair rate is impressive. Plus, then you can trade that Seth Curry, package that plus another thing to go get somebody else later on. It's a really, really good. You can't say enough about how good Seth's contract is.
I know it's like typical for me to say it, but the minute you take Danny Green off the team, you realize how valuable he is in terms of their roster construction. Like when you don't replace him with another player like him, all of a sudden everything makes a little bit less sense. And you could almost say that about any of the core rotation guys for the Sixers.
Yeah, for sure.
And his non-basketball...
I do think that as far as the main 5 guys, Seth, even though he's excellent and commands so much attention even when he's not playing well of the defense, I do think that the Sixers can still be really very good without Seth Curry. He is, I think, the least vital and probably worst starter on this team. Even if Danny Green doesn't get as many stats and everything, he's just a helpful player to have around. There's a nice play, Danny, in the Sacramento game where he cuts baseline and then realizes, like, oh, I'm kind of open underneath the basket. And I think it was Ben that found him underneath, and it was just like an easy layup. And he just has a really good court awareness sometimes that make his odd choices that much more flummoxing. But I respect the things that Danny does bring to the table.
Non-basketball question for Mike. Can you please assign Sixers to the most recent cast of The Real Housewives of New York? Which Sixers compare most closely to Ramona, Sonia, Dorinda, Luann, and Leah? Throw a Tinsley in there for bonus points.
Yeah. So I'm still a little behind on New York over the pandemic. We watched Real Housewives of New York, and started from the beginning, and so now I'm on season 9, just shy of the Mexico trip. For Roni fans out there. Let's see. It's tough. There's a lot of baggage that goes into this. I would probably say that Dwight Howard is Sonia. I feel very strongly about that. I do love Sonia, but she's out of her mind, and she used to be like her stock was higher in the past, back when she was J.P. Morgan's grandson, I think's wife. And so she was hot and young and like rich, and now she's like kind of backup center, making the minimum. But I do love Sonia. Ramona, oh boy, Ramona's out of her mind. I don't think there's a Ramona on this team. I don't think that we've ever had a Ramona. I couldn't do that to anybody on the Sixers. Dorinda, I love. Dorinda feels to me like a Tobias, stable, maternal, and then occasionally loses her mind. And I feel like Tobias, when he gets mad, could get really mad in a Dorinda way, which I love. Luann, oh man. I think Simmons is probably Luann. In like Luann still is called the Countess. She's very proper, but still like, basically has sex with a pirate in the Caribbean, on camera, which is interesting. So I think that there's a little bit of that there. Luann goes through her odd moments as well. Tinsley is new to the season. She's young and fun, but I think gets bullied. So I think that is Shake. Embiid threatening to slap the shit out of her of Shake in the playoffs. I think could be attributed to Tinsley and how the girls bullied her in her first season. Let's see. Leah is also new, but is cool, and they seem to like how much self-respect she has, and so I would say that's Tyrese.
I loved how much you enjoyed that. I was silent because I don't watch the show, so I don't know what you're talking about, but you were very into the response, and I appreciate it.
I did. I was taking it seriously. I was figuring out along the way. I think some are really, really good, and some are just okay of the comps I made. But any Roni fans that want to reach out to me to disagree, I'm happy to hear it.
From Tom, hey guys, love the show. Abby plug. I had commissioned through Abby, and it was awesome. She helped put my ideas into an incredible piece of art for my wife. Would 100% recommend. Abby is our artist who does, if you go to writesrickysanchez.com, all the drawings are Abby Huertas, and she does commissions. She was so busy during December, I asked her to do something for me, and she's like, boss, I just can't. I was like, what are we serious? You can't do something for me? But she's great. She's done commissions for me and for friends of mine. So if you want to reach her at Dig Rupert, DIGRUPERT, at Instagram and Twitter. Basketball question. The Sixers struggle so much without Joe, and almost all hopes of a playoff run without him would be gone. Which team in the NBA do you think is best suited for a deep playoff run without their number one player?
Interesting question.
Yeah.
I would probably say, looking at the current landscape, I think how well Jordan Clarkson is shooting and playing right now in the past really year. I think if Donovan Mitchell went out, I think that they could replace him enough. Also, Mike Conley's looking really good. There's an argument to be made that Gobert is also the best player on that team, or at least sets the tone the most. Clippers, no. Lakers, certainly not. Milwaukee, certainly not. I mean, Brooklyn, I guess, who's their best player out of those?
It's Durant. They can't.
Yeah, that's true. It probably is Durant. Yeah. But I think without him, Harden could still get you enough. But I would say probably their best player. Yeah, I would say probably Utah. Yeah.
I could imagine the Celtics winning a round without Tatum, but I can't imagine them winning 2 rounds without Tatum.
That's fair.
I could also imagine the Bucks winning a round without Giannis. Because of the system or whatever, I just can't imagine them winning 2 rounds without Giannis. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think Utah is probably it. And
but I also don't think. Maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. Maybe just because they're Utah, I still don't buy it. They're 20-5. God bless them. Good for them. They have the second best point differential in the league behind Milwaukee. But I just don't.
I don't buy it. No.
Yeah.
They're not going to win a championship or anything. Come on. Non-basketball question. I'm a public school teacher in South Jersey. Good work on you, Tom. And hoops is something I connect with my students about, even though their opinions are questionable. Who was your favorite teacher growing up, and what made them so special? Do you have one that pops out? I have 2.
My brother-in-law is a public school teacher in the Phoenix area. And now my nephew is a freshman in the same school, so that's fun to hear. I was just talking to him yesterday. He's also the high school baseball coach. He teaches math, and I've helped grade his papers before, so that's fun. My favorite teacher in high school was the unfortunately named Susan Finkboner. Not a joke. Yeah, we were very close. I was depressed for like a year in high school and just got into a tough spot, and I ended up just hanging out in her classroom a lot after school and just talking and stuff. And so she was always she actually just retired last year at Council Rock, and she was always very, very kind to me. So I would have to say Finkboner for sure.
My favorite teachers were my 3rd and 4th grade teachers. Miss Garrett was 3rd grade and Mr. Kelly was 4th grade. Mr. Kelly fucking loved being a teacher, and he loved it so much. He had such a good time that it was fun to be in class. And also, he would curse occasionally. And I'm sorry, that's just a winner.
Yeah.
And Miss Garrett...
Nothing better for 4th graders than
What's
occasional
that?
Curse. Once in a while.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Nothing hypes them up more than the occasional shit.
Yeah. It's the truth. And Miss Garrett, I could tell, believed in me. And I had a really tough time in 2nd grade. Miss Milius just made me cry twice. It was just a rough time. And I felt like Miss Garrett. No, Miss Stewart was 3rd grade. Miss Garrett was 5th grade. Miss Garrett was a good one in 5th grade. My high school teachers were good. Mr. Doherty was great, but it was Mr. Kelly that was the teacher. This is from Brian. Non-basketball question. Would you rather be too hot or too cold? I'm a diehard too hot kind of person. Give me 90 and humid over below freezing any day. I live in Chicago, and it's kind of killing me.
Well, come on. 90. 90 is the hottest you can imagine?
Yeah.
It's tough. I think I have family in Phoenix. I think 120 or 105 and burning hot, and whether you're at a wedding or a funeral or a baseball game or something, that is pretty uncomfortable. If you're just sitting there on the plastic chairs and just like absolutely soaking through yourself. Too cold is tough, but I think it's easier to add layers than it is to just be comfortable sweating in your like itchy sort of, swarming, unable to move sort of state.
Look,
I'll take too cold.
Yeah, I mean, having lived in the, I've never lived in like Vegas or Arizona, but even the Northeast you can have your 100-degree, 98% humidity days, which are fucking disgusting. Yeah. I've lived in Chicago. I lived in Syracuse. Give me too cold over too hot any day of the week. To your point, I'll put on a hat and a jacket and gloves. And even when exercising, I can run in 0 degrees. But when it starts getting to like 100 degrees with humidity, it just destroys me. I'll take too cold every time. Yeah.
The valley up here in LA is... it gets really it bakes in the 110 area, and I went to a funeral this past summer and in that weather where it was like you can't be outside. But as far as exercise goes, I'd rather exercise too hot than too cold, because when your breath is feeling like there's a knife in your chest, that's where I get like it's just gonna freeze over and I'm gonna drop dead.
So this is a funny story. I think it was either last year or 2 years ago. I think it was like -5 here. It was really, really cold. It was as cold as it's ever been here. And I went out to run. And not only my wife, somebody else said to me, hey, be careful. Like the inside of your lungs could freeze from the air. And I'm like, no, my lungs can't freeze from the air. I was like, have you ever taken a piece of ice and put it on something that's 100 degrees already? Like, the thing that's 100 degrees doesn't freeze. That's not how it works. I never have a problem breathing. If I get out and get moving, if the warmth starts, I'm good. So this comes from Lionel. Basketball question. Rank these basketball priorities in terms of importance. 1, hitting the playoffs with maximum health. 2, nailing down playoff rotations and strategies. 3, securing home court advantage. And 4, avoiding bad playoff brackets.
I will say 1 is most important, maximum health and rest.
I agree.
I would probably say 2 is next, nailing down the rotations and strategies.
I agree.
So that the team is operating and clicking well. And then I would say avoiding a bad matchup, although you're going to have to beat anybody. And then probably home court, because it's a pandemic.
I would flip 3 and 4. Otherwise, I agree with you on 1 and 2. And I actually think 2 is almost close to 1, though they can't get through it. Like, I'm not worried about hitting the playoffs with maximum health and rest. I'm worried about hitting the playoffs basically healthy. I think them nailing down how they're going to play is very close to maximum health and rest to me. Now, you might say nailing down the rotations might not matter if somebody's hurt, but that wasn't totally the question. And I think it's different for Joel than for everybody else, too. And then he said, relatedly, who do you want to see and who do you want to avoid? We're currently matched up with Toronto in the 1-8 matchup, which is a nightmare.
That'd be tough.
Yeah, I don't want to play Toronto in the first round.
That'd be tough. Well, Toronto right now, Toronto and Miami have gotten a little bit warmer after starting for a while. So I think they'll probably both end up, if not, they'll probably both at least in the playoff race in the like 6, 7, 8. So then maybe they have to play in a play-in game, but I don't think that they're going to be on the outside looking in. I think like the Cavs have regressed, the Knicks are regressing. I think the Hornets are playing a nice little basketball. I love LaMelo, but I think that they will fall back a little bit. Atlanta's still figuring themselves out, so I think Toronto and Miami will get back in the picture. But yeah, I mean the Sixers are. It's interesting. The Sixers are probably going to be the 1 or the 2, probably. I don't know. They're looking good. They're 4.5 games up on the 3. So if they're the 1 or the 2, that means they're playing a team that had to just play in a play-in, and that's That's interesting. That is a different kind of situation in that, like, whether, if it's the 7 seed or the 8 seed and they just took care of business, then that's a little confidence. And if it's a 9 seed or a 10 seed that won 2 games against a better team, then they're going to be, us against the world type of thing.
Yeah.
I think it shouldn't matter. I think the Sixers, if they finish in the first or second spot, should be good enough to take care of it. But I'm really not that worried about a specific matchup, because if they lose in the first round to whoever, then they will have deserved to lose in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, the Raptors and the Heat could beat you up in the first round. I think the Sixers would beat both teams. I would say the only teams in the Eastern Conference that wouldn't make me shake at all would be the Hornets, the Hawks, and if the Knicks are involved in that. But
I don't know. The Hawks are interesting, man.
Not in the playoffs.
And for sure, it's going to be new for them, but like they could just get hot. There's just a lot of they're shooting, they're fast, they have lob threats. I'm not saying that they're better than us or anything, but they're like, any team that can put on that many points is interesting.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, Brooklyn. There's still a lot of season left. There is, and they've barely played together. But dude, if they're just gonna fuck around all year, I still don't want to play a team with James Harden and Kevin Durant on the same team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
that's a reasonable thing to think.
But eventually they're going to have to figure out what they're doing. Like they're not. It's very rare. Even the Heatles did not waltz into the playoffs and obliterate everyone. You still got to figure it out. So,
yeah, there's no easy road to a championship, though.
And related question, this comes from Jim from First Class. The one seed seems more important this year than ever. Not having to go through both Brooklyn and Milwaukee would be huge for our chances to make it out of the East. Could this be reasoning for big minutes from our stars? And are you okay with that? You sort of answered, but not really. Are you, the idea of being out of, not having to go through Brooklyn and Milwaukee isn't worth some more minutes for Joe and Ben and the guys?
To me, the minutes, again, it's to me, I'd rather give Joel like a night off here and there. Yeah. The minutes, whether it's 32 versus like 36, that just any given night doesn't bother me that much. I think you get worried about like in a double overtime game and he's now up to like 44, then you get scared, because then that's when like something could snap or break or whatever, knock on wood. But as far as like I'm less concerned about those little parsing over a couple minutes here and there, so much as like I just want like every once in a while, back to back, give them a night. And if they can't beat Washington or Detroit or Orlando without Embiid, then like they should figure it out, and they should. It is a somewhat of a gift to try to work through that shit and get better at playing without Joel Embiid, because I'm still haunted by the minus 90 in the Toronto series.
You have every right to be.
Yeah.
And non-basketball, with the wealth of knowledge on the pod, parentheses Mike, in regards to venture capitalism and hedge funds, which Sixer owns the most Bitcoin?
I feel like I'm answering Tobias for everything, but it feels like Tobias is into that, right?
Yep.
He's trying things out. He's investing. He's putting his money in stuff, seeing what happens. Got some, he's smart. He's taking care of it. He's certainly got $180 million minus the 10 that he gave to Shake. I think probably Tobias.
Yeah, I can't even think of anybody on the team that I would even consider aside from Tobias.
I could see Korkmaz doing it.
Oh yeah,
and being like, I got it. I figured it out.
Well, because
or Dwight, I don't think knows what Bitcoin is. I could see Seth being like, yeah, I got a little bit. Simmons, sure, he's in like he's got some sort of first-person shooter Bitcoin team, something or other.
FaZe Clan Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Ferk I could imagine too, because I just get the sense that Ferk isn't that. Like, I can imagine him sitting at home with the Robinhood app and buying stocks and shit and having a crypto wallet in his phone. I can imagine that for sure. And finally, from Brock, who has a basketball and a non-basketball. The basketball isn't even really basketball. If a Sixers championship parade was to take place, how likely is it that the Ricky would have its own float now with Maury as the GM than in years past when the odds were 0 to 3%, which is, by the way, being generous?
To be, like, what is the float situation? Who has floats at a championship parade other than the team?
Okay, having had experience with floats and parade because of WIP and the Eagles, we got John Marks and Ike Reese were able to ride in the parade. They did not. We're the flagship of the Eagles. We didn't get our own fucking float to stock with. We're not getting our own float. I think the question should be, would we be able to be in the parade sitting on one of the cars somewhere with Maury as GM?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
What do you think the chances are?
I think let's ring the bell and then we'll talk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair response. And then non-basketball question, what childhood food do you crave the most, either because they no longer make it or because adulthood has made it seem irresponsible to still eat?
Every once in a while after school, I would just make myself a full box of pastaroni, fettuccine Alfredo.
Oh my God.
After school and just rip through it all. Just sit on a big bowl. I still see the bowl, like a nice little, like, wide, clear bowl. Like, pretty not too deep.
Yeah.
And just, like, sort of go to town on all that and have all of it.
So I would eat.
That
would eat a
knock
whole
me out pretty good right now.
I would eat a whole family-style Salisbury steak meal from Encore. But the thing that I think about occasionally, and I'm not sure if I've ever brought it up, obviously, I mentioned very fat in my teen years through my mid-20s, and I earned it. Like, I ate every calorie of that fatness that I had. And a friend of mine, Jeff, can never believe that I actually did this when I told him. I used to make omelets with American cheese and Doritos in them.
Oof. Cry for help.
Yeah, it was good, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It was very tasty. And a lot of eggs, maybe 4 or 5 eggs in the omelet, I think.
Quite a bit.
Bunch of American cheese, Doritos. And Fun Fruits. I don't know if they still make them, but the original Fun Fruits that were like kidney-shaped. Cherry original Fun Fruits. All right. We got a game Thursday and Saturday, right? We got Portland and Phoenix Thursday and Saturday. Let's get 2 out of these 3. We will talk to you Sunday morning on Valentine's Day. That's it. Watch Young Rock Tuesday on NBC.
Set the DVR. Just set those DVRs. Little series
DVR.
Recording. Check it out. It's a fun show. You'll like it.
Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, you know, Lickface.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
That's a plan B.